Afternoon to you, everybody. Welcome to this first presentation about how to scan those old photos of yours and to eventually end up with them in the cloud. And this particular edition is especially for those of you with an Apple Mac. We did the previous session an hour ago for those that were using the PC, and we had, I think, a good session. I hope you will enjoy it. At the end of the time, we'll be spending about 20 minutes on this. We'll have plenty of time for questions, and I invite you to think about those as we're going along. In addition, if you visit the avpals.com webs page, you'll find a copy of the notes of this course, and you'll also be able to watch the video of what we're doing now as from Friday. So I hope you enjoy what we're going to do, and I'll just give you a brief overview of the sort of things we're going to do first. So this is our course. We're learning how to scan album photos and put them into the cloud. In itself, this is not a simple matter. I mean, it is in the most basic form. As somebody mentioned in the previous session, I'm going to suggest that you scan the photos, that you enhance them, that you put them into a PowerPoint presentation, and then you put them up in the cloud. But the simplest way, of course, is to simply scan the photos and put them into iCloud or into OneDrive or into Google Drive or into Dropbox or any of the many others. But I'm suggesting to you that we're going to step through it slowly, and if you've got questions, by all means, ask me about them as we go along, at the end. So this is what you're going to need. Firstly, you're going to need a multi-purpose printer. They're correctly called MFPs, multifunction printers, and they're usually something you bought at Officeworks or the like for around about $50 or $60, sometimes even less. The one I'm going to show you a picture of a bit later, I bought for $18, and it works perfectly well. And if you spend $150 on the same thing, all you're getting is the option probably to send faxes as well, and I doubt that's something you're going to do very often. You're going to need a computer. It can be done, I'm told, by one of my trainers that you can do this from an iPad. I haven't tried it, and I'm sure you can, but I'm suggesting that you've probably got a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro, or whatever you've got. And if you happen to have a Microsoft PC as well, it also does it equally as well. In your favor, the scanning software that comes with the Mac is excellent. It's very hard to beat, no matter whether you've got a PC or whether you've paid a good deal of money for a scanner. The scanning software built into the Mac is really good. You're going to need a selection of photos. It may be that they're in an album, there might be a box of old photos, whatever it is, you should be able to have them handy, and you should have thought about it a bit beforehand. By all means, I scanned 1,800 photos in the month of March, and in doing so, I've done exactly what I'm doing for you now. I put them all into the cloud. In my case, I chose OneDrive because they've got virtually unlimited storage space there, where iCloud is, as you probably already know, limited to 5 gigabytes unless you pay more money. So I've done all that. I've put the photos into the cloud, and as you will see this week and next week, it means that your family and friends can look at them if you invite them to do so. And if you're really game, you can give them the option of adding photos to it. You're going to use an image manipulation program. For this, I use Photo Preview built into the Apple operating system. And a Photo Preview does all the things you will want to do, not quite as well as some other programs that you can buy for your Mac. But if you happen to have Photoshop, of course, well, then you've got the Rolls Royce. But there are some cheaper ones around, in particular, one called Greenshot, Greenshot. Greenshot is, I notice in the App Store, is $3.99. So you can save up for that. And it's quite good for doing what we're trying to do. But because I'm wanting to use it just as it comes, I'm using Photo Preview. And you're going to use an app to present the photos. Now, you strictly don't need to do this. You could just simply have separate images of them all, email them to people, send them a link from your uploaded files in the cloud. But the big plus of using PowerPoint is that you're able to arrange the photos in a particular order, starting from, in my case, I had a folder called from 1920 down to 1930. And I put all my photos from that era into that presentation, saved it as a presentation, and now my family can look at that separately from all the others. And I can make notes, it's called annotating. I can make notes on each slide, and they are able to view those later. For example, you might say, here's a picture of Auntie Zona and her young son, Tom, taken in 1924, riding a horse across the Nullarbor. Well, they wouldn't know what it was unless you were able to put some notes in. I think it's a good thing to do. Oh, and you need plenty of spare time. You need to have a bit of a passion for it. You've got to be sure you want to do it. If you start off in the first half hour and you're totally frustrated, my suggestion is go and get a cup of tea and start again, because really it is a little bit difficult to start with, but once you get going, it all is just so easy. I found myself getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing this work, which was not always that popular in this family. So you're going to need one of these MFPs. The one you're looking at the moment is a Canon multifunction printer. The plate on the top, you can see there's a lid you can lift up. Inside there is a glass plate, correctly called a platen, P-L-A-T-E-N. And as you'll hear me mention later on, it's very important to keep that clean. If you've got a smudge on it and you're going to scan 1,800 photos, you're going to get a smudge on every one of the 1,800 photos. Don't laugh, it's happened to me. I redid about 200 photos when I found a dead insect on one. And you're going to need yourself a MacBook of some kind. It's up to you. This particular one you see there is just an illustration running the current operating system. I don't care how old it is within reason, that'll all work perfectly well. And you're going to need a photo album. Hopefully you've got such an album already somewhere, and it's going to have a lot of photos in it. It's good to be able to remember to be able to get the photos out of the album. It's not much good trying to scan them whilst they're in the album, particularly if they've got plastic sleeves or covers. I'd recommend you take the photos out a page at a time, and a good rule of thumb is put them back afterwards in the same place, because you may very well have borrowed this book from a child or a friend, and you might want to give it back to them in the same place they were in before. Of course, you might just have a box like this full of old photos, and they'll all scan beautifully. In fact, once you get into the swing of it, you'll learn that you can scan these photos and improve on the original. It seems impossible, but you can. There are, if you happen to be a bit of a whiz at Photoshop, of course, you can get rid of scratches. You can enhance them in all sorts of ways. If you're not prepared to pay for Photoshop, and who is, I find it very expensive for software, you can use a freeware version called GIMP, which is quite well known, graphic image manipulation program, GIMP. And it does what Photoshop does. The experts tell me it's its equal. It's just a bit awkward to use compared to Photoshop, but there you are. And there are many online sites that will do this image manipulation for you. You upload the photo to the online site, you make the changes you want to, and you download it. It all can happen, particularly if you've got the NBN, very quickly. Why did I mention NBN? Because if you're going to upload photos under the old ADSL scheme, that took a long while, but NBN, the speed of uploads is very quick. All right, we better get on with this. Step one, we're going to find our album. We're going to take it out of a box of old things, and we're going to lie it down somewhere safely so that we can now get into these photos seriously. We're going to have to select some photos. So let's do that. We open up the album. In my case, I'm choosing 2 photos just for demonstration. The more photos you can choose at once, the faster this whole operation will be. If you can fit 6 photos on the platen, then obviously it's more efficient. But I wouldn't recommend that to start with. I just get 2 photos and practice with that, because it's the way to go, I can tell you. You place the photos on the glass platen of the scanner face down. If your printer is printing now, it will scan. It's just as simple as that. But remember, the scanning invariably is not done from the printer. It's done from your Mac. That's where you'll be doing it. So here I am. I've got the 2 photos in my hand. I've opened up the printer, which is also a scanner, put the 2 of them down there and close the lid. So now we're ready to rock and roll with the very first 2 photos. Remember, you would have noticed there's plenty of room for more than 2. In many cases, I was able to get even more than 6 if they're tiny little, who remembers the little 127 film photos from olden days? They were tiny, and you could fit a lot of those on the one plate at the time. Okay, you now move to your Mac. So you're ready to start the first scan. And here is the first step. You're sitting there comfortably, you've got a cup of tea in your hand because you want to take your time over this, and you scan the photos using one of 2 choices. You can either use the image capture software that's built into your Mac, comes with it whether you like it or not, or you can use the software that came with your printer. Both methods work equally well. If you did not install your printer using the software that it came with, then you won't have the program that was released, say, by Canon or Epson or Hewlett-Packard. So you'll be using image capture. Which one do I prefer? I'd rather really not say, but I'm telling you now, I like the one built in, the image capture software, the one built into. So here we go. We're going to open up image capture. And there it is on the screen. That's what it's going to look like. You'll notice it says Epson WF2630. That happens to be my printer. And I'm saving these pictures. I'm just circling it there to show you that I'm saving it into a folder that I will remember. And I created a folder called Z, would you believe, which I always do, so I can easily find it. The scanner is warming up. It takes a while. It can take a minute or so to get warm, hot. And it does that as part of the process. And when it's got hot enough, without me touching another key, it will start scanning the photo. And here it goes. You can see it doing it now. So there'll be a noise in the background from your scanner as it hums along, scanning that first photo, and it will take as long as it takes. You can alter the resolution of this. I wouldn't fiddle with it because, frankly, you certainly can't make a poor quality photo into a good one with a great deal of simplicity. So here we are, showing you the 2 photos that we scanned. You can see them both there. There it is. It's called Scan to JPG. And we're looking at the photo now. I double-clicked it to show you what it looks like. Now I'm going to turn the photos to the left. See the little button I'm going to click? They're now facing horizontally. Much easier to use than trying to do it vertically. And then having done that, remember we haven't saved these. All we've got is the original scan. We're going to now cut each of those people up into separate little photos. And to cut them up, I'm going to show you how it works right now, hopefully. You're going to firstly got to make sure the photos have scanned properly. If you're worried about it, remember to open Finder and go and find those scanned images using preview. So there is, for example, what it looks like. Now we're going to turn them around. And there's the option, you see, I'm circling it again to show you, turn them around to the side. Now we're going to cut them by clicking on File and going down to take a screenshot and choose from selection. We're going to draw a box around the first part of the image, just the one of the child in the red jacket. And let go, and there we have just that child. And we're going to save that as a new file, save. And we're going to give it a name, and we're going to call it whatever you want to call it. In this case, I called it baby 4, and I'm going to say save. So we've done the first one. Now we're going to close that window down And we're going to do the second part of it by selecting exactly the same. Take a screenshot from selection and draw a box around the second photo. If you had 6 photos, you do this for each one of them. And there it is. We're going to click on File, Save, and we're going to give it a unique name again. With this one, we're going to call it maybe something else, 6, and so on. Now, I hope you didn't find that too complicated. If you'd only done one photo at a time, that would have been perhaps very efficient. You wouldn't have to worry about it much. But it's very slow. If you've got a lot of photos, you're much better off doing a lot at the time. And also, of course, you end up with all that white space around it. You really want to cut it out using the option of a screenshot with using selection. It's a good thing to do. All right, moving on. It said hopefully. What's the sec? I missed it a bit there. So once you've got the photos, just a couple of tips for you. Make sure you know where they're going to be saved. By all means, choose an option to save them out on your desktop if you want to. One of the things I notice mostly from people is that they take these scans, they do them, and then they don't know where they are on their computer. So I would recommend that you spend a little bit of time thinking about how it works by using Finder. And I would highly recommend you create a folder somewhere in your operating system that will be suitable for saving all the photos in the first presentation you're going to do. In my case, I divided it up into decades, 20s to 30s, and so on through the years. So I saved separate folders, named that, ready for what we're going to do next week. That is transfer these photos into a PowerPoint presentation, which is surprisingly easy to do. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, there's really no need to do this PowerPoint presentation. It's just a more efficient way of doing it. So next week, we're going to learn how to enhance the photos and how to upload them to the cloud. You may prefer to do it to iCloud, and if you're paying extra for it already, by all means do it that way. However, you might feel more comfortable using OneDrive or Google Drive. They're both free. To get an account with OneDrive, you simply need to open a Google account, and the same thing applies to OneDrive. You need to have a Microsoft account. So they're all free, and they all give you quite a lot of cloud storage. We're going to learn how to annotate the photos. Now, it's a pretty important thing. Photos don't mean much unless you can explain what they're about. And being able to put notes as part of the presentation is really important, so that people want to read that, they can do so. And we're going to learn, therefore, how to upload them to Dropbox, for example. I haven't even given Dropbox a mention. It's a fantastic service. Dropbox has got some pluses over all the others, but it's a bit limited in space nowadays, and for the free part of it. But if you happen to be paying for it already, well, then that's a very good choice. Of course, the final thing we're going to do, after we've learned how to upload them to the cloud, is to see how you can send a link to these files to friends and family. It's all very well having a copy for yourself. I did it because of the bushfires originally. I live in Elvina Bay, and it was a worry to me that I was going to lose all my family photos. So I did that for this reason. But in fact, it's had a byproduct. It means now that my family can look at all the photos, and they can keep a copy themselves, and for that matter, anybody else that happens to have the link. You can make them password protected if you want to. So that, folks, is the end of week 1. I'm now going to ask you if you've got any